Catch all the Caps playoff games at Walter's Sports Bar and Navy Yard, across from Nationals Park. Plenty of TVs for you and your friends to watch Ovechkin and crew take on the Rangers.
Whether you're a world-class athlete or a podcaster like me, we all understand the importance of mental and physical well-being and proper recovery for top-notch performance. That's why I'm excited that Unified Healing is sponsoring podcasts on the Blue Wire Network. Unified Healing is a new and super innovative global network of wellness centers powered by Energy Enhancement System, or EE System. If you haven't heard of the EE System yet, then you'll want to listen up. This technology promotes wellness, deep relaxation, purification, and rejuvenation. Wherever you are across the globe, access to a center is easy and affordable. Interested in experiencing the EE System technology for yourself? Go to unifiedhealing.com/bluewire to learn more and find a center near you. That's unified, UNIFYD, healing.com/bluewire. No material or testimonials on the Unified Healing website are intended to be viewed as medical advice or a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or treatment and before undertaking a new healthcare regimen, including EE System.
Gore kicks, delivers a pitch, swung on line drive. Garcia going back, it's over his head into right center for a hit. Rounding third, Pena coming home. The throw is cut off by Meneses. He's going to be offline from Lane Thomason. Didn't appear to be in time, and Chas McCormick has the Astros' fourth hit in a row and third RBI hit in a row with a blooper into right center field, scoring Pena from second. It's now Houston 3 and Washington nothing with still nobody out here in the second. Here's a pitch, swinging a drive in the air to center field. Back is the center fielder, Dubon. Can't get it. It is gone. Goodbye. A home run for Riley Adams. Bang, zoom goes Riley Adams, his second home run of the year, his fifth run batted in. And he is 2 for 2. It's now the Astros 4, the Nationals 2. Here's the set. Hader with a pitch. Swing and a miss. He struck him out with an elevated fastball. The game is over, and Hader survives a shaky bottom of the ninth inning, and the Astros end a 3-game losing streak and take game 1 of this 3-game interleague series.
And welcome to Nats Chat for Saturday, April 20th, 2024. I'm Al Galdi, host of the Al Galdi podcast. Mark Zuckerman is off for this installment of the podcast, but I am pleased to be joined by the mastermind of the podcast, Tim Shovers. The Nats' 5-year anniversary celebration of their 2019 World Series team is happening this weekend as the Nats are hosting the team that they beat in that 2019 World Series, the Houston Astros. But the celebration did not get off to the best of starts. A 5-3 loss to the Astros on Friday evening, dropping the Nats to 8-11 in this regular season. Just 2-5 at home versus 6-6 on the road. Although I guess that's apropos given that the Nats in the 2019 World Series went 0-3 at home versus 4-0 on the road. Coming up later in the show, an update on the Nats AA affiliate, the Harrisburg Senators, from the voice of the Senators, Terry Byrom, who will tell us about outfielder Dylan Cruz, among others. Also, later in the show, a shout-out that you don't want to miss. Trust me on that. But Tim, disappointing outing for MacKenzie Gore. The Nats offense did not do much against Justin Verlander, who made his 2024 regular season debut in his age 41 season. And the result was a loss on Friday evening.
Yeah, disappointing outing for MacKenzie Gore. That to me is more upsetting if you're a Nats fan than the final score of the game. Because, this is an upgrade of a lineup versus Oakland, who he dominated last weekend. And the game sort of felt over by the second inning. I know that the Nats made it close in the ninth inning, but that was a long top of the second. And if you want to see MacKenzie Gore become an ace, you're going to need to see a bunch of dominant outings back-to-back, and we did not get that this evening.
Yeah, I think when we talk about the next step for MacKenzie Gore, it is that consistency. It is that start-to-start, if not excellence, then quality. And there still is an up-and-down nature to him. And, you think about this game, right? Weekend series, Friday evening, facing the Astros, 5-year anniversary celebration of the World Series. And Gore had his worst outing so far in this regular season. He overall has been good, let's make that clear, but he was not good in this game. So he lasted for just 4 innings, during which he allowed 3 runs. He gave up 7 hits, which were 3 doubles and 4 singles. He issued a walk. He did record 4 strikeouts, and he did throw a good number of strikes, 64 strikes versus 28 balls. But you add the strikes and the balls up, you get 92 pitches in 4 innings. That is a staggering pitch count for 4 innings, 92 pitches. All 3 of the runs allowed by Gore came in that top of the second. A top of the second in which he gave up 5 hits, including 3 consecutive doubles to begin the inning. Gore in that inning threw 37 pitches. We saw this from him last season. He would labor when he was off. He would be out there for so long. He'd throw so many pitches, and we certainly saw that in this game.
Yeah, 37 pitches in the second inning. That's such a staggering amount, especially in this era where, no one lasts more than 5 or 6 innings. Started off well, scoreless top of the first, looked good. And Houston's lineup, that top of the lineup is extremely impressive. But he just, he did not have it this evening. Tough way to start the series.
So the Astros have a good lineup, as we know. The Astros actually are not playing particularly well so far this season. Hard to say if that's a sign of who the Astros are, or are they just off to a slow start. But the Astros, even with this win, are just 7-14 on this regular season, if you could believe that. So, we talked about the Nats winning 2 out of 3 at the Dodgers and perhaps catching the Dodgers at a pretty good time. It's not like the Dodgers have been wretched so far this season, but I don't think that they've been as good as they can be. It would feel like the Nats are catching the Astros at a pretty good time, but we did not necessarily see that on Friday evening. And, Verlander makes his regular season debut, and he ended up pitching well. That's another aspect of this. It was Gore v. Verlander. Would have been pretty cool to be able to say that Gore outdueled Verlander on this night. That did not happen. Verlander, 2 runs in 6 innings. Now, the Nats offense in this game, just 3 runs, 8 hits, just 1 walk. The Nats went 1 for 4 with runners in scoring position. The Nats did have 3 extra base hits, and as you alluded to, did rally in the bottom of the 9th inning. Josh Hader, who is not peak Josh Hader anymore. I think that the aura of Josh Hader has faded in recent years. The Nats certainly have contributed to that with what they have done against Josh Hader in the past. But Hader in the bottom of the 9th had all kinds of problems. The Nats in that bottom of the 9th inning, leadoff triple by CJ Abrams, RBI sac fly Jesse Winker, infield single Lane Thomas, walk Luis Garcia Jr. You're in business. But then Joey Meneses swinging strikeout, Nick Senzel swinging strikeout, and what could have been a pretty exciting and enticing walk-off win to begin this series was not to be.
Yeah, hole was a little too deep, down 3 runs. But yeah, Hader has not been himself this year. You have to question in Houston's wisdom in giving him that contract. Now, you talk about a lot how finicky relievers are. Now, he's been the exception to the rule, but we've even seen, Craig Kimbrell have disappointing contracts over the years. And also, Josh Hader does not want to pitch multiple innings anymore, which devalues him. He's not a 4-out or 6-out save guy anymore. One thing talking about the offense, Al, that I thought was interesting tonight, and I haven't made up my mind yet, but moving CJ Abrams down to the 2nd spot and putting Jacob Young in the leadoff spot. Now, Young got pinch hit for late in the game by Joey Gallo. I thought the move made sense. But you pointed out in the last episode how Abrams' time in Washington turned around ever since going to the leadoff spot. I understand the thought process, and Davey said wanting to put a guy on ahead of Abrams for more RBI opportunities. But to me, that's been Abrams' sweet spot so far, and I had me shaking my head before the game.
Well, Abrams did not have a hit until that leadoff triple in the 9th inning. I mean, most teams do bat their best batters in those number 2 spots, so I didn't have a problem with doing this, but I get the sentiment. And, we know how Davey is. When something is working, he usually doesn't mess with it. I mean, we've seen this many times. When the Nats have a good offensive performance, Davey will go with the exact same lineup the next game. He'll forget about matchups and he'll just, submit a carbon copy of the previous game's lineup. So I think logically, most good batters for teams, most best batters for teams bat in number 2 spots. And the other thing is Abrams is hitting for power. And so you hate to see these extra base hits wasted with nobody on. And so I think there's an intellect behind what Davey did. But, at the end of the day, it's like there's only so much Abrams on his own can do. Other guys need to hit. I mentioned the triple. It was great to see that 1-run 9th. Abrams, a leadoff full count triple to the right center field gap to conclude an 8-pitch plate appearance against Josh Hader. Another offensive standout for the Nats in this game, Riley Adams, who, with Keibert Ruiz on the 10-day injured list with the single worst case of influenza in the history of influenza, Adams has produced. He's been leaned on a lot, and more often than not, he's come through. Adams in this game on Friday evening, Nats starting catcher, number 8 batter, 2 for 3 with a solo homer and a double. Adams in the Nats 1-run third, a 1-out opposite field double off the right center field wall, and Adams in the Nats 1-run fifth, a 2-out first pitch solo homer to center field to cut the Nats deficit to 4-2. I don't know how much more you realistically could be hoping for here from Riley Adams. 10 games in this regular season, OPS of 899. He's slugging 583. He has produced, especially with Keibert being out for so long with this illness.
For years, we've been talking about ways that the Nats could get Riley Adams in the lineup more, whether it be DH. Remember, there was that brief period of maybe putting him at first base. He took some drills there. And now he's been given this extended opportunity because of Ruiz's illness, and he's shown that he is a major league hitter when given the opportunity. I was thinking about this out, on the podcast a lot, we talk about Lane Thomas and the John Lester trade gets mentioned. For Nats fans, quiz yourself real quick. Do you remember who the Nats traded for to get Riley Adams from Toronto? I'll give you a second there. It's Brad Hand. And he didn't even make it, I don't even think, to September before the Blue Jays cut him and then the Mets picked him up. So the Lane Thomas trade was probably the best move that Mike Rizzo made, but the Riley Adams one's a close second from that fire sale back in 2021. I'd love to see maybe after this, when Ruiz returns, if Davey gives Adams more of a shot at the DH spot.
I think he's earning more plate appearances. I don't know how you argue against that. The Nats offense actually has not been that bad so far this season. And I know at times it probably feels like the Nats offense isn't good. And certainly there have been run outputs that have not been good. And certainly there have been games in which the Nats offense has not been good. But you look at what specific Nats players are doing this season, just looking at some of these slugging percentages for this regular season. Abrams 662, Riley Adams 583. Jesse Winker, 552. Luis Garcia Jr., 481. I mean, you've got some guys who are hitting for some power here. Abrams, I've referenced this, but I think we need to keep focusing on this. The guy has 19 hits. 11 of the 19 hits are extra base hits. He really has become a power producer. 5 home runs, 3 triples, 3 doubles. So that's encouraging. And, this is happening despite certain Nats not hitting all that much. Lane Thomas is not hitting all that much. Joey Meneses has been terrible so far this season. Joey Gallo has had his moments, but his overall production is not good. OPS at just 638, slugging percentage of just 350. Eddie Rosario, I mean, he's done next to nothing for the Nats. So what they're getting from Abrams and Adams and Winker and Garcia really has been valuable.
Just listed it right there. And as you go on and lay out the stats more, I'm feeling more and more convinced that Adams should get more opportunities at DH. And it will be interesting to see because obviously if you do that, you got to push someone well out. And, Al, you talk about that the offense has been better. And this is a bit anecdotal right now. But for instance, this game tonight felt like a 2022 Nats game where they fell down early and you felt like the game was over. And then they ended up getting the tying run to the plate, but they still came up and lost. We're still not seeing those, games where the Nats are up 6-0 after 4 innings or anything like that. So I know that the numbers individually bear out a better offense, but I just feel like we're still not getting that huge run production, which they need, especially for a non-elite pitching staff.
Well, yeah, we certainly are not. And a lot of this is the bar is low, right? I mean, the offense the last few seasons has not been good in terms of hitting for power. And so when you have a few guys hitting for power, it stands out because we have not had much of that in recent years. But for sure, if the Nats score 5 runs or more, you feel like that's a big offensive performance. Whereas you look at the elite hitting teams in baseball, they can easily put up 7, 8, 9 runs in a given game. We have not seen much of that from the Nats so far this season.
Football season may be over, but the action on the floor is heating up. Whether it's tournament season or the fight for playoff home court, there's no shortage of high-stakes basketball moments this time of year. Get in on the excitement with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app, where you can turn your hoops knowledge into serious cash. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000 with NBA, NHL, and college basketball entries today on Prize Picks. Prize Picks even offers injury insurance so that your entries stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. This week on Prize Picks, I'm selecting Giannis Antetokounmpo for more than 32.5 points and LeBron James for more than 8.5 assists. Download the app today and use code BLUEWIRE for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code BLUEWIRE on the Prize Picks app for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy with Prize Picks.
Philip has just lost the respect of the youth league football team he coaches. He was asked what New England should do in the draft, and his answer was objectively terrible. The Athletic just wrote a great article about this, but Philip doesn't have the Athletic or the respect of a boisterous group of 11-year-olds who once looked up to him. Learn from Philip's error, get the Athletic, and get the info you need to speak draft fluently.
Here's your James Wood update for the game played on Friday evening in Rochester's 4-1 victory over the Toledo Mudhens. He went 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts while hitting second and playing center field. Now back to the show.
On the ejection, can you...
Obstruction, right? I mean, look at the video. I don't know if they knew what I was arguing. I wasn't arguing. I won't argue the review. I mean, but the fact of the matter, they can sit down and get together and see. The fact that they can't see it is brutal. I mean, Vargas almost broke his hand. You know, the guy was blocking the base. That's obstruction to me. I hope they look at the video and understand that that's obstruction. So
that's a new rule. Is that something you guys have talked a lot about leading up to the?
I mean, we talked about it. The umpires can confer. They can get together. We can do a rules check. I mean, there's a lot of things we can do. I honestly don't think they knew what I was talking about. I really don't. I went out there and I don't think they understood that I was not arguing. I'll never argue in a review. I mean, that's dumb. But the fact of the matter that if you're gonna make rules, the umpires need to know the rule, right? I mean, you put yourself in a good position to call the play right, and know that he blocked the base with his foot, and the reason why he didn't make it was because his foot was on the base.
8 total hits for the Nats. 4 of the 8 hits came from the Nats' numbers 8 and 9 batters. Riley Adams, we talked about him. He had a couple of hits, and Ildemaro Vargas had 2 hits. He was your Nats' starting third baseman and number 9 batter, and boy, did Ildemaro have an interesting game on Friday evening. So Vargas went 2 for 3 with an RBI single and another single, but he also officially went 0 for 2 on stolen bases. Vargas in the Nats' 1-run third, a 1-out RBI single through the right side of the infield to cut the Nats' deficit to 3-1, but he later in the inning got picked off and was tagged out in a rundown between second and third base. And then came what led to Davey Martinez getting ejected. Vargas in the bottom of the 8th, a 1-out opposite field single to left field on a 1-2 pitch, but he then got thrown out in an attempted steal of second base for the 3rd out. And it wasn't just that. CJ Abrams was batting. So here you are in, still a relatively close game at that point. 2 outs, Vargas on first, your best hitter is batting, and you get thrown out in an attempted steal of second base. Now, the play was close, and it appeared that the Astros shortstop, Jeremy Pena's left foot, was obstructing the bag from Vargas. This seemed to be a violation of the obstruction rule now that we have for a bag like the second base bag. But Davey Martinez's challenge of the out call went unsuccessful. And then Davey, in arguing the upholding of the out call, got ejected. Now, it's kind of funny when you think about it because Davey is arguing with 2 of the umpires when the call actually was upheld, not by the umpires, but by MLB's Replay Operations Center in New York City. Although I suppose you could say Davey was arguing that initial call of out. So there are a lot of things to look at here. First of all, Vargas gets thrown out on the base pass twice. The second time is certainly close and in a lot of ways controversial, because if you go by the letter of the law, that certainly seemed to be an obstruction violation by Jeremy Pena. Although, if you're watching the play, I mean, Vargas could have slid around the foot. It's not like the foot was in front of the entirety of the bag. And then you have Davey getting tossed and arguing with two people who did not uphold the call. So a lot to take in there.
To this new rule, you can review a play at the plate, but you can't review a play at second base, which to me, I don't understand the logic there. Either pick one or the other. And so I agreed with what Davey was fighting for, though the umpire's hands were tied. So I didn't love this rule to begin with when they put it in, but if you're going to put it in and you're going to have replay, then make it challengeable. I don't understand the logic as to why it can't be challenged.
And I get Davey being mad, but Vargas has no business running in that moment unless he's 100% certain he's going to be safe. And you obviously can't be 100% certain that you're going to be safe. And that's a painful thing to see. Your number 9 batter gets on base with a hit, right? I mean, we're not talking about one of your best hitters, right? Your number 9 batter. I mean, Vargas does a nice job for them as a super utility guy, but he is what he is. Abrams is batting, and you run yourself out of an inning like that. So disappointing to see that. But, as we talk so often when the Nats have these base running blunders, they stand out when you're not hitting in a great way. And while the Nats are hitting for some power here, in this game on Friday evening, they only scored the 3 runs. And so something like what happened with Vargas really stands out. I do want to highlight Joey Meneses. So he in this game was the Nats starting first baseman and number 6 batter. He went 0 for 4 with a strikeout, had that big strikeout in the bottom of the 9th inning. Here is your Joey Meneses slash line for this regular season. Batting average of 182, on base percentage of 277, slugging percentage of 200. Joey Meneses for this season is 10 for 55 with 6 walks. He has 1 extra base hit. It is a double. We have grown accustomed to Joey Meneses playing for the Nats a whole lot in recent years, right? Gets called up when the Nats trade Juan Soto, is remarkably productive over the final 2 months of the 2022 regular season. Last season doesn't hit for much power, but is a significant RBI producer, at least by 2023 national standards. He is off to a really rough start so far this season. He does not seem to have a lot of confidence. Watching him in that key plate appearance in the bottom of the 9th, look, maybe I'm reading too much into what I was seeing, but he to me looked like a guy who does not have faith in himself right now. And him striking out was probably the least surprising occurrence at Nationals Park in this game. We've already gotten away from Meneses being an every game player. He's not right now. Now, that could change if he heats up, but he's not right now. Something that I think can get forgotten is that Joey Meneses does have options. And I'm sure the Nats don't want to do this, but I wonder if this continues, if we might see the Nats option Meneses back to the minors, especially with a guy like James Wood on the come, to say nothing of other guys who are on their way to the major league level, we hope, at some point this season. But it has been a rough go of it for Joey Meneses. And, there's only so much of a leash that Meneses is going to get.
I think he's going to be sent down within a month or so. Just call it June 1st or Memorial Day. I think he'll be down in the minors. That just seems like where we're headed. His production has gone down. The roster is getting more and more crowded. Oh, by the way, I talked about with Riley Adams, if Davey wants to get him more at-bats at the DH spot. Winkers played well. It seems like the roster from a Joey Meneses perspective is shrinking in all directions when you also look at the prospects that are going to get called up at some point. And the magic of September 2022 feels like a long time ago. That seems like where we're headed here, Al.
I think the other thing, too, is this. A lot was made last season of Meneses doing so well with runners in scoring position. And that got talked about a bunch. That got written about a bunch. And look, he deserves credit for that. He did do well with runners in scoring position. But this has been shown time and again in baseball. Success with runners in scoring position is not something that necessarily carries over year to year. There is a flukish nature to it. If you do well in that circumstance, good for you, but it's not necessarily a skill that translates year to year. And so doing well with runners in scoring position one season guarantees nothing for the following season. And, we're kind of seeing that here with Meneses. I mean, he's not doing well really in any circumstance right now, but him doing so well in risk circumstances last year is not carried over in any way to this year. But him not hitting for power last year has carried over into this year. And now, he's not hitting really at all. He's not getting on base. It's been tough. He's better than this. I mean, I don't think he's going to continue to be this bad. But as the Nats, move along here in this rebuild, I think one of the nice things that you can say is they're going to start to have options. They're going to start to have other guys to whom they can turn. And that's a sign of progress. But that may not be such good news for Joey Meneses. We shall see. The Nats bullpen in this 5-3 loss to the Astros on Friday evening. So, one of the unfortunate consequences of MacKenzie Gore only lasting for 4 innings is that Davey Martinez once again had to use 5 relievers in a game. And, it wasn't just Gore lasting for just 4 innings. The first reliever who Davey utilized, Robert Garcia, was not effective, and he ended up only facing 4 batters. So the 5 relievers ultimately did allow just 2 runs in 5 innings, so I want to give him credit in that regard. But Garcia was charged with a run in a third of an inning. He had an Astros 1-run fifth, faced 4 batters, got just 1 out. He issued a 1-out walk and then gave up back-to-back 1-out singles. Derek Law officially tossed 1 2/3 scoreless innings, so he did a good job. Dylan Floro tossed a scoreless top of the 7th. That was good. Matt Barnes allowed a run in the top of the 8th. And the mop-up man, Tanner Rainey, he did toss a perfect top of the 9th. I was actually very happy to see that. He needed that. This guy needs to start stacking up some good performances to work his way up that Nationals bullpen hierarchy. So there were positives with the bullpen in this game. I just hated that Davey had to use 5 relievers. Now, the Nats do have an off day coming up on Monday, so it's not like a dire situation with the bullpen. But boy, it feels like in so many games so far this season, Tim, Davey has used at least 3 relievers and many times more than 3 relievers.
Yeah, it's every day. It seems like at least 4, and that's obviously going to add up, and it's unsustainable. And that's why you'd love to see guys like Gore and the rest of the staff, pitch longer and not, Irvin got yanked the other day in 73 pitches. Like at some point, can't just be Patrick Corbin that you're sending out there to eat innings. And, some teams in their minor leagues have a bunch of arms ready to go. The Nats don't really have that. So I don't think that this bullpen pace can keep up. And I'm hoping that extends to longer outings from the starters, because this whole, bringing in Derek Law every single game and having 4 or 5 relievers, that ain't going to cut it.
We are getting to know Derek Law very well. We are getting to know the law quite well as Nationals fans and observers so far this year.
We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Fargo, the new virtual assistant from Wells Fargo, makes banking faster and easier. Like this.
Fargo, what's my checking account routing number?
And this.
Fargo, turn off my debit card.
And this.
Fargo, what did I spend on groceries last month?
And that's just the beginning. Do you, Fargo? You can. In the Wells Fargo mobile app. Learn more at wellsfargo.com/getfargo.
Terms and conditions apply. Your mobile carrier's availability and message and data rates may apply. Wells Fargo Bank, N.A., member FDIC.
Greinke coming set. He deals. Swinging a ground ball off the glove of the diving third baseman Bregman, and down the line, headed toward the corner. This one goes all the way to the corner. Zimmerman racing for third. Is going to try to score. He will. Robles digging for third. He slides in with a triple. Nationals are on the board here in the fourth inning. Robles lashed that one by and off the glove of Bregman all the way into the left field corner. It's now the Astros 2 and the Nationals 1. And the Nationals fans are on their feet, and they love it.
All right, so Friday evening, game one of this special weekend series, 5-year anniversary celebration of the 2019 World Series champion Nats. Now, there's stuff happening with each game, although the meat of the celebrating really is going to take place on Saturday during game two. If you're curious about the attendance for this game on Friday evening, if there was a bump due to the anniversary celebration, it really wasn't all that much. So the official attendance, 22,999. But again, the meat of the celebration is happening Saturday. Now, you were at Nationals Park for a good chunk of the evening. What stood out to you in terms of the celebration?
What stood out to me is that there was really nothing about the celebration. It sort of felt like a rehearsal dinner to a wedding the night before. It felt like the eve of everything. There were a few recorded messages from players on the screen, like including guys that are still active and on other teams. I did see Anibal Sanchez and Kurt Suzuki sitting behind home plate. By the way, that would make sense for a battery for a first pitch tomorrow. Keep your eye out on that. But there was no signage or anything around the ballpark. First pitch was very, very empty. Now, Nats Park is always a slow developing crowd, especially on a Friday night, especially with the 6:45 starts. So I don't read anything much to that. But I think you're going to see much more festivities on Saturday. There's a giveaway on Saturday and also a giveaway on Sunday. So in terms of 2019, it was brought up a lot in Davey's pregame media availability. But after that, not a ton to it.
Yeah, I think the way to judge the weekend is with what happens on Saturday. We are still holding out a little bit of hope that maybe possibly Steven Strasburg shows up, although I would not hold your breath on that. That still seems rather unlikely. And remember, Tuesday afternoon when the Nats announced the 2019 Nationals players who will be attending this weekend, Strasburg was not on that list. But, I would say this. Yes, it probably is going to be that Strasburg isn't there. And yes, there are a lot of key players from that 2019 Nats team who aren't attending because those guys are still playing just with other teams. But this still can be a fun weekend. I don't think we have to focus all the time on who's not there. Like, you can enjoy who is there. Howie Kendrick will be there. Ryan Zimmerman will be there. Anibal Sanchez will be there. Kurt Suzuki, etc. And, I think in a lot of ways, this is for the fans. This is to have a good time. This is to salute these guys and that team. And this is a group gathering, the likes of which we didn't have much of after that 2019 World Series because of the COVID shutdowns in 2020. So, would it be nice if more guys from 2019, more stars were attending? Sure, but that doesn't mean that this has to be a non-festive weekend. That doesn't mean that this can't be a really fun and rewarding weekend for Nationals fans. So I think if you're headed out there, especially on Saturday, have a great time. You deserve it, and there's no reason for you not to have a great time.
My hunch is there won't be a surprise Strasburg appearance. I don't think that Brian Dozier has inside info, like we heard the other day on the radio. Al, I just want to say real quick on Strasburg, I echo your sentiments from the show the other day when you guys talked about it. That was our episode Wednesday morning that came out. Barring anything that would truly keep him away, I don't know his full situation, but really disappointed that he won't be there. I just don't think it's the right move. And I know public engagements aren't his thing, but for all the reasons you stated, I think he should be there. And I just wish he realized that it would mean a lot to a lot of people that cheered him on for over a decade. And if he is sitting at home tomorrow with his feet up on the couch watching Netflix when he very well could be in Navy Yard, I think he's making the wrong decision. And I don't think he listens to this podcast, but I want him to know that best I can.
Well, Strauss, if you are listening, we invite you to submit a shout out. We'd love to do one for you. And if you'd like to buy a Nats Chat podcast t-shirt, we'd love to ship one to you. Yeah, I said my piece. I do wonder if he's dealing with stuff that maybe we're not aware of because, boy, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to not attend something like this. It's not that big of an ask. And, I know Marcus brought up, Strasburg doesn't maybe want to talk to the media, et cetera. Well, then don't talk to the media. Just show up. Go on the field, say hello, walk off the field, get in your car and go home. Like, you can even just do that. But just being there momentarily, I think would mean a lot to people. But look, you can't make people do things they don't want to do, right? Like, I mean, you're not holding people hostage here. So if he doesn't want to be there, he's not there. That's on him. This is a big part of why, to me, after this weekend, it's time to put 2019 away for a while. And it's time to get away from all this stuff. And it's time to really hone in on the now and the future, because that's what the Nationals are about. And, the Strasburgs and the Corbins and the things that happened half a decade ago at this point, it's all fine and dandy. But I really think, let's really start to hone in on CJ Abrams and MacKenzie Gore and Josiah Gray, who hopefully is back soon, and James Wood and Dylan Cruz, etc. I think that's where the focus needs to be at from a Nationals perspective. All right, we mentioned the shout-outs. You can submit a shout-out for this podcast. Consider it the podcast version of a message on the Nationals Park scoreboard. Hit up Tim Shovers. He can give you more details, but the email address to contact him is natschatpodcast@gmail.com. I'm going to read to you this shout out. To the man who postponed surgery last fall to attend the end of season Nats Chat party at Walters, we wish a happy birthday to Dwayne Edwards. There's no bigger fan of the game of baseball, the Washington Nationals, but most importantly, the Nats Chat podcast. Thank you for introducing so many of us to Al, Mark, and Tim, and a special thanks for teaching some of us how to play Stratomatic baseball. From all your friends, family, students, and colleagues, Kurt and everyone, wish you a special day on your big day. And I echo those sentiments. It was a thrill to meet Dwayne at Walters at the Nats Chat party more than 6 months ago now. That was October 13th. That was actually opening night for the Capitals. Here we are now. The Caps are about to play their playoff game, game one at the New York Rangers this Sunday afternoon at 3. But Dwayne came to the party in a neck brace. He was on the doorstep of surgery that he had postponed in order to attend our Nats Chat party. That was an honor. Dwayne's a great guy. We certainly wish him well, and I hope that he has a great birthday.
Yeah, Dwayne, by the way, was we talked about Meneses earlier. A few weeks ago, he emailed into the show. He was the first person to kind of put it on the back of my head that, hey, might be time to send Meneses down to the minors in a few weeks. So I want to give a note on that Dwayne was a bit prescient and a huge Nats fan, obviously. But to the neck brace thing, Al, a little inside baseball here on the party. I wanted to put it on the first Friday night after the season, which would have been Friday, October 6th. But one of my best friends from growing up was getting married that weekend, so I was back in Atlanta. And, whatever, didn't think much of it. Party was scheduled for October 13th. And in rolls Dwayne with a neck brace saying he postponed surgery. And I'm thinking, man, because of my friend, someone who, she doesn't know a thing about baseball, picked that wedding weekend. Poor Dwayne had to postpone his neck surgery by a week. So I'm sorry, Dwayne, for that. But thanks for being a soldier and fighting through it. And, by the way, Kurt, who submitted this a shout out, great guy as well. Had a really fun time talking to him. And just a clearly great group of guys that Kurt and Dwayne are.
And Dwayne was nothing but happy and positive at the party. For a guy in a neck brace about to undergo surgery, you would not have known from his demeanor. It was really a thrill to hang out and talk with him. So all the best to Dwayne. Thank you for that shout out, Kurt. You can hit us up on X at Nats_chat. Like I said, you can email the program, natschatpodcast@gmail.com. We have a website that we invite you to check out, natschatpodcast.com. And as we've been telling you, we now are on YouTube. You can search Nats Chat Podcast to watch episodes of the Nats Chat Podcast. All Nationals radio highlights on Nats Chat are courtesy of 106.7 The Fan. So, for Tim Shovers, I'm Al Galdi. We'll talk to you next time on the Nats Chat Podcast. And we'll leave you now with this update from the voice of the Nationals' AA affiliate, the Harrisburg Senators, Terry Byrom, for the latest on Dylan Cruz and more.
And the pitch. Lined into shallow center field. This one is falling. It is a base hit. Robert Hassel, the third, scores. And Dylan Cruz with the game winner. 3-2, the Senators walk off the Richmond Flying Squirrels. A triple by Hassel and a single by Cruz.
The Senators begin play Thursday night with a 5-5 record. The Senators started slow, going 1-5 in their first 6 games, but have since played good baseball with 4 straight wins to even their record at 5-5. Beginning last Tuesday in Altoona, the Senators have scored 43 runs in their past 7 games. They took 2 tough losses in Altoona, 8-7 and 9-8, before they started their current role. Leading the way offensively is top prospect Dylan Cruz. Dylan is third in the Eastern League with 11 runs batted in. He's driven in 4 runs in 2 separate games, last Tuesday and then Sunday in Altoona when he hit a grand slam to break the game open. The Nationals' number 17 prospect, Andrew Pickney, is off to a hot start as well. He's batting .343, has 3 doubles, and 3 stolen bases. Not to be left out of the action, the bullpen has played a major role in the 4-game winning streak. Beginning Saturday in Game 1 of the doubleheader at Altoona, the bullpen has tossed 14.1 innings, allowing just 7 hits and no runs, including putting up zeros in the 10th and 11th innings Wednesday night against the Flying Squirrels. The Senators finish out this week with Richmond with games on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday before hitting the road to Erie for a 6-game series next week against the defending Eastern League champions.
Plato's Closet in West Ashley and North Charleston are springing up cash. Just sell us your gently used warm weather styles like tees, shorts, sandals, and more. We're paying cash on the spot for gently used spring styles for guys and girls. Support sustainable fashion. This spring, do your thing and recycle the spring-inspired clothes, shoes, and accessories that are just hanging in your closet for cash on the spot. Let your spring clothes bloom into cash at Plato's Closet. Plato's Closet, located in West Ashley on Sam Rittenberg Boulevard and North Charleston on Rivers Avenue.